What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made these beautiful, delicious, beefy, cheesy, crispy, amazing, crunchy beef tacos. Coming up. This is some meat. Pat it dry. And what I got here is a chuck roast. Picked this up at the grocery store. Nothing too fancy here. And not too much fat, which is a good thing. And that's because today we're tackling the classic crunchy taco from my youth. And I'm not talking about authentic Mexican food here. I'm talking about classic suburban America, kind of a Taco Tuesday situation. Which of course is a crunchy shell, some ground beef seasoned up, shredded lettuce, cheddar, you know the drill here, folks. And again, this is not an authentic Mexican taco, but this is the taco that I grew up with. And the only taco I really knew growing up in New Hampshire. And really it's just a homemade version of a crispy taco supreme from Taco Bell, which means we're gonna be making some ground beef today. And as you know, when you make ground beef in a pan, it can get pretty greasy, which is why having a cut of meat that's not too fatty isn't really a problem, because that grease is all gonna separate out anyway. But to get things started, I'm gonna cube this up so it fits in the meat grinder and gets nice and cold, because we're making taco meat, so I want a nice, clean, pebbly grind on this stuff. But obviously, we still want some fat in there, so into the freezer this goes to get nice and cold. Next up, let's make some quick pickled jalapenos. Starting by going into our jar with some black peppercorns, some lightly crushed garlic, and some sliced up jalapenos. Not gonna burn my pecker today. And into the jar we go. Set this aside, because now it's time to make our brine. Starting by going into this pot with some water, followed by some white vinegar, some white sugar, some kosher salt, and some turmeric. And bring that up to a boil. Be sure to give that a nice whisk to make sure everything is fully dissolved. And once up to a boil, over these jalapenos we go. And I'm gonna try not to make a big mess. Oh, he's making a mess. Yep, every time, it's tradition. Lid goes on, give it a little shake. And our jalapenos are done. We're gonna let these sit out for a little bit at room temp to cool down. The heat from the liquid is gonna cook these through and soften them up. And once they cool down, we can pop them in the fridge. They'll be ready to go. And now that our meat is nice and cold, through the grinder we go. And I'm going through the coarse die today, although I'm not really sure if that's the right move. I guess we'll have to find out. But we're gonna send it through and see how it looks. Beautiful. Nice clean grind on that. And the thought process here is, when you make taco meat, it can tend to get a bit soupy. So I figure if we have a coarse die from the get-go, we might end up with some better texture at the end. And I'm also not gonna touch this at all. I wanna keep it nice and loose and pebbly, so it doesn't emulsify or have too much protein extraction going on. We're gonna set that meat aside until we need it, because we gotta make a few more things, including some taco seasoning, which consists of some kosher salt, some black pepper, granulated onion, granulated garlic, some red chili flakes, some oregano, some paprika, cumin, and some chili powder. And just get that all nice and mixed up. Up next, let's go ahead and make some Taco Bell sauce. Starting with going into our pot here with a whole bunch of some tomato paste. Boop, barely made it. Followed by some water, as well as some kosher salt, some chili powder, granulated onion, granulated garlic, some cumin, some cayenne, some of our jalapeno pickled brine, as well as some pickled jalapenos themselves. And get that all stirred up and bring it up to a simmer. And once that's nice and toasty, I'm gonna go in with the old stick blender to break up those jalapenos and make sure everything is evenly incorporated. And once up to a simmer, just to cook that tomato paste a little bit, we'll go ahead and give that a taste. It's got some kick to it. I think it could use some brightness though, so I'm gonna go in with some vinegar. Ooh, that's really good. It tastes a lot like Taco Bell fire sauce. It is a bit salty though, and I think it's because last time I made this recipe, I used Ancho chili powder, where this time I used chili powder, like the seasoning, which I didn't know has salt in it, but I'll adjust the recipe accordingly, which of course is always in the description box down below or on our website. Beautiful. Now that all our veggies chopped, let's go ahead and get that beef cooked. Start, I'm going into our pan with some oil, as well as 2 pounds of our lovely freshly ground beef. And we're just gonna brown this up. And that is a lot of beef, but as you can see, it's shrinking up quite a bit. And there's nothing wrong with having a little extra taco meat on hand. But at this point, it's not really making much noise because it's just water cooking out. So we just gotta wait till it starts sizzling a little bit. And now you can hear it starting to sizzle. We're starting to get some fond built up on the bottom, meaning we've cooked out all of the water and it's starting to fry and brown up. So at this point, we're gonna go in with some onion and let that start cooking down as well. That water from the onion will help deglaze the pan and add some nice subtle sweetness to our taco meat. You'll also notice at this stage that the freshly ground meat makes a really big difference because I didn't need to bust out a potato masher or anything, and this is just perfectly crumbled, looking very nice. At this stage, we're starting to get some really good browning on this beef. The onions have softened up and we've built up another layer of fond on the bottom, which is exactly what we want. So we're gonna go in with some tomato paste and fry that up for a couple of minutes. We're also gonna go in at this stage with our garlic, let that toast off and get nice and fragrant. And we might as well go in with some of our taco seasoning. And just let this cook down for a minute or two to toast that tomato paste. Make sure that garlic is nice and aromatic and get all these spices toasted off as well. And once everything starts smelling absolutely incredible and you're worried that fond is gonna burn, we're gonna go in with some beef stock. This is some homemade smoky gelatinous beef stock that I made, which should add some really wonderful flavor, add a little smokiness to the party, and just get everything deglazed and mix it all together. I'm gonna go in with some more beef stock. So at this point, I'm gonna set this aside on low heat and just let it simmer for a while to kind of let that stock reduce down until we get the perfect taco consistency, because right now it's a little bit soupy, and let all those flavors bloom and let this whole thing come together. One last thing we gotta talk about before we make some crunchy tacos is the crispy taco shell. And if you've been watching this channel for a while now, you know I'm not very good at making corn tortillas, and I did try pretty hard to make a crispy tortilla shell from scratch, and I just failed every time. It's just not my DNA. So we're gonna cheat today and get some store-bought tortillas and fry them ourselves, and they're still gonna be a lot better than the ones you get at the grocery store. But not all corn tortillas from the store are made the same. So what I did is I went to the store and I bought 4 different brands of corn tortillas and I fried them all up at the same time, at the same temperature. And as you can see, they all fried up pretty differently. And there's one clear winner, which is the El Milagro. But to be fair, I did try the other ones at different temperatures and lower temperatures for less amount of time, and they all do work, but the El Milagro ones are the most foolproof. They were the crispiest, and they can cook the longest without burning or darkening in color too much. So that's what I'm gonna use today. And to cook them up, I got this nifty little contraption. And no, you don't need to buy a specialty tool for making these. You could make them with a couple pairs of tongs, or you can make them in your oven by draping them over the grates. But I've got a deep fryer, so this thing works out great. And it's nice to be able to make 4 at a time. But obviously you could use this in a pot as well. And to use it is very simple. Grab yourself a tort, wrap it around this little mold here, make sure it's even, and then in it goes. Very simple. And you can rock out a bunch of these because they only cook for a couple of minutes. Great for a nice taco night. Beautiful. That one's a little lopsided. Beautiful. Let's fry them off. Got the deep fryer fired up to about 350 degrees, and we're just gonna drop them in. Only takes about a minute. And just like that, they're looking golden brown and done. So we're gonna just remove these bad boys and pop these on a wire rack to cool. And just like that, some beautiful, crispy, slightly homemade, crunchy corn tortillas. And you can tell they're kind of puffy, so they're gonna be really nice and crispy compared to the ones that you can get at the store. But you do have to be careful when you're frying these up because corn tortillas are very brittle and oftentimes they'll break. So you gotta put them in really gently. Like that one is holding on by a thread, but makes for great tortilla chips. After several batches, I finally remembered a trick that Lauren taught me a while back when I was making taquitos, which is if you take a corn tortilla, run it through the oil, just like a quick dip, it'll soften it up and make so it doesn't crack. And I did that for these 2 batches and they are all perfect. So thank you, Lauren, because these look perfect. To assemble our tacos, we're gonna grab one of these beautiful bad Larrys and we're gonna fill it up with some of our meat, as much or as little as you see fit, which is nice because you can make them extra meaty. Beautiful. On top of that, we'll go down with some shredded cheese. Although at Taco Bell, they put the cheese on top, and I get it for like commercial reasons. It looks nice, but I'd rather have melty cheese on my crunchy taco. Atop that, we're gonna go down with some sour cream. And I'm not really sure how to do it because it's not very spreadable. Crema would have been a better choice. Hard to spread sour cream on cheese. Maybe that's why they do it. There we go, healthy little layer. And then we go in with our shred lead, just some iceberg lettuce, Tillamook sharp cheddar, by the way. And then we'll go on with some Roma tomatoes on top for that wonderful splash of color and freshness. And you know what? Just because I have to take thumbnails and whatnot, let's see how it looks with a little bit of cheese on top, just for that classic look. There we go. Now it looks a little bit more like a Taco Bell taco, except more meat and less lettuce, which I'm happy about. I will say, on second thought, I'm looking at this meat, and it's got some good texture to it, which I think I'm gonna like, because it's gonna be extra meaty, but I don't know if Brooke's gonna like that. She always complains about finding gristle. Guess we'll find out. Let me know how y'all would assemble these, because for me this is making sense. The cheese is melting to the beef. The sour cream acts like a glue so our lettuce doesn't go flying all over the place. The tomatoes are kind of awkward, but not much you can do about that. And then of course the extra cheese garnish. Not mad about that. 2 textures. So we got to do this a little out of order because Brooke is late for work.
A little bit.
So would you like to try a crispy taco?
Yes.
Ooh, crunchy.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Is it good?
Oh god.
I feel like this is going to be one of those things where we say, why don't we make these more often?
Yeah, definitely.
But now we have the contraption, so it'll be real easy.
Holy moly.
How does it compare to the Bell?
Better. For sure.
Does it not taste like cigarettes?
Well, I never thought that they did. You were the one that thought that.
That's true.
But the meat is reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
But in a good way. Yeah.
Gotta love
It's
taco
good.
meat. I made 3 for you, depending on how many you want to house before you go to work.
What time is it?
Taco time.
It's hitting the spot.
Well, plenty more for when you get back.
Okay. It's so good.
Spoiler alert, these have been sitting out for like 30 minutes.
Still crunchy and delicious.
How's the bottom holding up?
It's like definitely got soaked through, but it's still crunchy.
It's still crunchy. Impressive.
Good job, babe. Yum, yum, yum.
Now take 2 and just...
Oh no.
And here it is, folks, looking good, all stacked up. Got lots of beef and cheese and veg, of course, with our homemade Taco Bell sauce and some pickled jalapenos. And yeah, I'm ready to dive on in. Sorry I didn't eat alongside Brooke today, but the lighting was just terrible earlier. When the sun sets, it just hits that wall, throws off my exposure. But now it's time for me to find out how these tacos came out. Good God. Oh, that is so flavorful. So crunchy too, did you hear that? That is truly just a bite of happiness right there. That beef is so flavorful. The texture on the meat is amazing. I thought Brooke wasn't gonna like it, but she said that she absolutely loved it. You know, it's a bigger grind, so it just eats a lot beefier than like the paste mush you get at Taco Bell or from grinding, you know, pre-ground overworked meat, but highly recommend that one, folks. That is fantastic. Should we give it a little dip in the sauce? Don't mind if I do. No. That is a phenomenal taco. All the flavors in that rub, you know, the taco mix that we made, the cumin, the chili powder, makes it so savory, and that beef is just perfect texture, you know, not too soupy. And you know, it's not like dripping all over the place, but it's still incredibly juicy. And then the sour cream in there is just a perfect note, and the fact that this has Tillamook sharp cheddar on it instead of pre-shredded whatever really makes a big difference too. And if you want a little extra kick, throw a jalapeno on there or just dip it in the sauce. That is so much better than I remember it being. Probably because it's not an old El Paso kit, you know what I mean? But that's a fantastic taco right there. Crunchy. The tortilla is perfect, holding up, not sogging through, didn't crack. And it's really easy to make if you have that contraption and a deep fryer. That was like a perfect like and subscribe bell. So please, don't forget to like and subscribe, folks. Definitely picking up on a little smoky flavor too, probably from that smoked stock that got kind of reduced down and concentrated. Highly recommend it. When I was planning this video, I was really thinking about doing this 2 different ways. You know, the classic home version with the ground beef, which is this one, just kind of made to the best of my ability. And then I was going to do another one that was more barbecue focused, but I figured that video would be too long and I wanted to kind of cover the basics first. But what should I do next for crunchy tacos? You know, should I fill this up with barbacoa with some cabbage on top? Should I fill this with pulled pork and put some crackling on top? Or should I just fill a taco shell up with Texas chili and put cheese and onions and make the real walking taco Frito pie? I think that one's definitely going to happen. But let me know in the comments below what I should do next with the crunchy taco, because I think this is going to be a recurring thing. Not necessarily a series, but you know, like every few months I'll put out a different take on pastrami or a crunch wrap or something. So we have not seen the last of the crispy taco. So let me know in the comments below. But before I eat way too many of these, I think it's time for the official taste test. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make some absolutely fantastic, beefy, crunchy tacos. I highly recommend giving this one a try. And I'm sure y'all have made these 1,000 times before, but just using pre-ground beef and taco season packets. But I think it really is worth the extra mile to make your own seasoning, fry your own tortillas, and make your own ground beef, because the difference really is night and day between the store-bought stuff and homemade. And it's really not all that much work either, and definitely something I'll be doing again very soon. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you gave these a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace.